The Galactic Coalition faced its darkest moment. For almost 2 decades, the Vorax swarm had been destroying star systems one by one. Their strange ships, part living creature and part machine, overwhelmed the combined forces of the 12 allied species. Admiral Kim watched the holographic battle maps with tired eyes. Red alerts flashed across the displays as another defensive line collapsed. She stood alone on the observation deck of Proxima Station, the final military base protecting Earth. "Admiral," a voice called from behind her. She turned to see Commander Jun, her second in command. His uniform was wrinkled, and dark circles shadowed his eyes. No one had slept well in weeks. "The Arcturus line has fallen," Jun reported. "The Centauri ships are retreating to our position." Kim nodded. She had expected this. The Vorax were too many, too relentless. Casualties. Heavy. 3 destroyer-class vessels lost with all hands. The battleship Resolve managed to evacuate most of its crew before self-destructing to cover the retreat. Through the station's massive viewport, Kim could see the distant stars. Somewhere out there, the Vorax fleet approached. Soon, they would reach Earth's solar system. 17 years, Kim said softly. "We've fought for 17 years and still understand nothing about why they attack." The Vorax had appeared without warning at the edge of Coalition space. No communication, no demands, only devastation as they consumed world after world, leaving nothing behind but barren rock and ash. "The Coalition Council is gathering for an emergency meeting," Jun said. "All remaining species representatives. They're calling for you specifically." Kim's mouth tightened. Politics. Even now, with extinction looming, there would be arguments and posturing. Humanity had only joined the Galactic Coalition 30 years ago, discovered by Arcturian explorers who'd been shocked to find intelligent life on a planet so far from the galactic center. The older species still treated humans as newcomers, barely worthy of respect. "Very well," she said. "Prepare my shuttle." As they walked through the station's corridors, emergency lighting cast everything in a dull red glow. Soldiers and civilians rushed past, preparing for possible evacuation. Kim noticed the faces of the non-human personnel, the tall, willowy Arcturians with their 4 arms, the squat, armored Drovians, even a few rare Melosians with their crystalline skin. All looked equally desperate. "Commander," Kim stopped walking. "How long until the Vorax reach Sol?" Jun checked his datapad. "At current speeds, 4 days. Maybe 5 if the minefield at Neptune slows them. Not enough time to evacuate Earth. Not nearly enough. The Council wants to know if we should begin civilian evacuations to the outer colonies," Jun said quietly. "And abandon Earth." Kim shook her head. "There aren't enough ships. We'd save a fraction while condemning the rest." They reached the shuttle bay. The small craft waited, engines already warming. Before boarding, Kim turned to her XO. "It's time, Jun. Tell the Earth Defense Command to activate the Prometheus Protocol." Jun's eyes widened. "Admiral, that project is still experimental. The Coalition doesn't even know." "They don't need to know yet," Kim interrupted. "Just make the call." On the shuttle ride to the Council chamber, Kim reviewed the classified files on her secure tablet. Project Prometheus had been humanity's secret work for decades. While sharing most technologies with their new galactic neighbors, Earth's scientists had kept certain discoveries to themselves, specifically breakthroughs in quantum physics that the other species believed impossible. The Council chamber was in chaos when Kim arrived. Representatives from the surviving species argued loudly, some nearly coming to blows. The Arcturian counselor noticed Kim first and called for order. "Admiral Kim," the Arcturian's voice resonated through the chamber. "Your forces have failed to hold the Vorax at Arcturus. Earth is now directly threatened. What is humanity's plan?" Kim stood tall before the alien leaders. Many had lost their homeworlds already. Some represented species now reduced to a few thousand survivors. For 17 years, Kim began, This coalition has fought conventionally against an unconventional enemy. We've lost because we've been predictable." She activated the room's holographic projector, showing a massive ship unlike any the coalition had ever built. "This is the TFS Prometheus," Kim said as gasps echoed around the chamber. "Humanity's answer to the Vorax threat. It's been under construction in secret for 15 years. The Drovian representative slammed a clawed hand on the table. "You built this while our worlds burned." Kim met the alien's 4 eyes without flinching. "We built this because your worlds burned. And now, it's ready." "The council is convening," she said quietly, looking at each alien face in turn. "It's time to unveil Project Prometheus." The shuttle carrying the coalition representatives approached Ceres, the largest object in the asteroid belt. From the outside, it looked like any other rocky space body. But inside, it held humanity's greatest secret. Admiral Kim sat quietly as the alien diplomats whispered among themselves. The Arcturian ambassador folded 2 of his 4 arms in obvious displeasure. "This is highly irregular, Admiral," he said. "Secret military installations violate coalition sharing agreements." Kim didn't respond. The shuttle docked at what appeared to be a small mining station. When the airlock opened, Dr. Park was waiting for them. She was a small woman with short gray hair and piercing eyes that missed nothing. "Welcome to Project Prometheus," she said simply. "Please follow me." The group entered an elevator that descended deep into Ceres. The alien diplomats grew more uncomfortable as they dropped further into the asteroid. After nearly 2 minutes of descent, the doors opened to reveal a sight that left even the most composed ambassadors speechless. They stood on a viewing platform overlooking an enormous construction bay carved from the heart of Ceres itself. Floating in a massive dock was a ship unlike any the coalition had ever built. "The TFS Prometheus," Dr. Park announced with quiet pride. The vessel was massive, easily 3 times larger than the biggest coalition battleship. Its hull gleamed with a strange, shifting surface that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Workers in specialized suits crawled across its surface like tiny insects, making final adjustments. "Impossible," whispered the Thraxi engineer, his crystalline face reflecting the strange light of the ship. "How did you conceal this?" "Very carefully," Park replied, leading them along the walkway. "This facility exists in a quantum bubble. Standard scans pass right through it, seeing only normal asteroid material." The Drovian war chief snorted through his armored breathing apparatus. "And you've kept this from your allies for how long?" Dr. Park stopped walking and turned to face the group. "Humanity has been developing quantum entanglement technology since before we joined the coalition. While we shared most of our discoveries, we kept certain aspects to ourselves. 50 years of secret research," she continued. "Not out of distrust, but because we weren't sure ourselves what we were dealing with. The physics involved challenged fundamental understanding of reality." She led them to a laboratory overlooking the ship. Inside, scientists worked at stations displaying equations and models that made the alien visitors exchange confused glances. "What we discovered," Park explained, "is that reality isn't what we thought. The space between spaces can be accessed. The Prometheus doesn't fly through space. It steps between layers of it." The Malosian diplomat, whose crystalline body shimmered with internal light, moved closer to the observation window. "This material, I don't recognize it." "Quantum-stabilized dark matter composite," Park said. "It allows the ship to maintain structural integrity during dimensional transitions." Admiral Kim watched the reactions of the coalition representatives. Some showed anger, others fascination. All showed disbelief. "Why keep this from us?" asked the Arcturian. "We could have deployed this technology years ago, saved billions of lives, countless worlds." Dr. Park's expression remained calm. "No, we couldn't have. This technology wasn't ready. Even now, it's experimental. The first tests of quantum bubbling resulted in the disappearance of an entire research station. 17 scientists lost, shifted somewhere we still don't understand." She touched a control panel, and a holographic display showed the interior of the Prometheus. Corridors and chambers filled with technology that looked almost organic in design. The ship can create stable quantum tunnels, bypassing normal space. In theory, it can appear anywhere instantly. No travel time, no warning. And, she paused, it carries a weapon unlike anything we've built before. The room fell silent. Even the most peaceful coalition species understood the implications. You built a super weapon, the Drovian war chief said. It wasn't a question. We built a ship that might save us all, Park corrected. The quantum lance can theoretically disrupt the molecular bonds of any material. Against the Vorax bioships, it should be devastating. Admiral Kim stepped forward. The Prometheus launches in 6 hours. A select crew has been training in simulation for years. They're the best humanity has to offer, plus specialists we'll need from your worlds. She looked at each alien representative in turn. We need your help now. Not permission. We're launching with or without approval. But cooperation would improve our chances. The Arcturian ambassador's skin changed color slightly, a sign of deep emotion. You've kept secrets while we died fighting. Dr. Park shook her head. No. We've been working frantically to perfect this technology while you fought. There's a difference. She led them closer to the observation window. The Prometheus hung before them, dark and powerful. Workers were detaching the final connection cables. For 50 years, humanity kept quiet about our quantum entanglement discoveries, Park explained to the stunned diplomats. While we shared most technologies upon joining the coalition, we continued developing this privately. Not out of selfishness, but because we needed to understand it first. The ship's external lights activated, illuminating its name emblazoned on the hull, TSS Prometheus. Now, Park said quietly, we're ready to share. Captain Lee walked the central corridor of the Prometheus one last time before launch. The ship hummed with power, systems coming online as the crew made final preparations. 300 souls, the best minds and warriors humanity could offer, along with specialists from every coalition species. All volunteered, knowing they might never return. The ship was unlike anything humanity had built before. Its corridors curved organically, illuminated by soft blue lighting that pulsed like a heartbeat. The quantum core at the center of the vessel emitted a strange harmony that seemed to vibrate through the metal itself. Lee touched the wall gently. 17 years of war had led to this moment. Hundreds of billions dead across dozens of worlds. The Vorax had consumed everything in their path, without communication or mercy. Now, humanity's secret weapon would either turn the tide or become another footnote in the history of a failed resistance. Captain to the bridge, came the announcement over the ship's communication system. When Lee arrived on the command deck, his crew stood at attention. Human officers worked alongside alien specialists, an Arcturian at navigation, her 4 arms gracefully manipulating the complex controls. A Thraxi engineer monitoring the quantum core, his crystalline face reflecting the console lights. Captain on deck, announced Lieutenant Commander Choi, Lee's second-in-command. She was young but brilliant, one of the few officers who truly understood the quantum drive's theoretical principles. At ease, Lee said, "Status report." Choi handed him a datapad. "All systems operational. The quantum drive is at full capacity. Weapons systems online. Life support stable. We're ready, Captain." Through the main viewport, Lee could see the interior of Ceres. The massive construction bay doors were beginning to open, revealing the star-filled blackness of space beyond. "Communications," Lee said, turning to that station. "Any word from Coalition Command?" The communications officer nodded. "Final authorization received, sir. Admiral Kim sends her regards." He paused. "Wishes us good hunting." Lee took his place in the command chair. Around him, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. There was no cheering, no speeches. Everyone understood the weight of the mission. "Navigation. Plot a course to the quantum entry point," Lee ordered. "Engineering. begin drive spin-up sequence. The ship detached from its docking clamps with barely a shudder. Thrusters fired silently, pushing the massive vessel toward the opening bay doors. As they cleared Ceres, the true scale of the Prometheus became evident against the backdrop of space. Coalition vessels in the area moved to escort positions, their captains sending messages of support and amazement at the sudden appearance of the enormous ship. Receiving transmission from Proxima Station, the communications officer reported, "Admiral Kim is addressing the fleet." Kim's weathered face appeared on the main screen. "To all Coalition forces, the vessel you see is TSS Prometheus, a joint human coalition project. It will attempt to strike directly at the heart of the Vorax swarm. All vessels maintain defensive positions. This is our best hope." Kim out. A lie, Lee knew. The Prometheus had been purely human until days ago, when the alien specialists joined the crew. But it was a necessary fiction to maintain coalition unity. "Quantum drive at full capacity," reported Choi from her station. Her fingers danced over the controls, making final adjustments, calculating optimal entry vector. Lee addressed the entire crew through the ship's communication system. "All personnel, prepare for quantum transition. This is what we've trained for. Trust your preparations. Trust your teammates." He turned to Choi. "Lieutenant Commander, the ship is yours." Choi nodded, her face serious but calm. "Initiating quantum field generation. Dimensional barrier thinning at calculated coordinates." She glanced up at Lee. "Key drive ready for first deployment." "Proceed," Lee ordered. The lights on the bridge dimmed momentarily as power redirected to the quantum drive. A strange vibration passed through the ship, not unpleasant but alien, like nothing any of them had felt before. On the screens, space itself seemed to ripple around the ship, stars blurred and stretched. A sensation of falling without moving gripped everyone on board. "All systems nominal," reported Choi, her voice steady despite the unprecedented nature of what they were attempting. "Quantum field stable. Preparing for transition in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reality shifted. For an instant that felt eternal, the ship existed everywhere and nowhere. The crew experienced a moment of perfect clarity, as though they could see the entire universe at once, before snapping back to normal consciousness. The starfield outside the viewports was completely different. "Transition complete," Choi announced, checking her instruments with professional calm. "Position confirmed. We've emerged behind Vorax lines, near the Denov system." The bridge crew broke into spontaneous applause. The quantum drive, technology that coalition scientists had deemed theoretically impossible, had worked perfectly. They had bypassed months of conventional travel in an instant. Lee allowed himself a small smile. "Well done, everyone. Especially you, Lieutenant Commander." Choi nodded, accepting the praise professionally. "The drive is already recycling for another jump if needed. We can transition again in approximately 14 hours. Lee turned to the tactical station. "Sensors, full sweep. Let's see what we're dealing with." The tactical officer, a human named Jin, worked his controls. "No immediate Vorax presence detected. But I'm picking up debris fields consistent with coalition vessels. And there's something else." He frowned at his readings. "High-energy signatures from the fourth planet, consistent with Vorax communication nodes." "We found them," Lee said quietly. The massive vessel had slipped into the quantum foam between realities, bypassing normal space in ways coalition scientists had deemed theoretically impossible. Now they were deep in enemy territory, about to confront the mysterious force that had pushed civilization to the brink of extinction. The hunt had begun. The Prometheus moved silently through the debris field of what was once the Antares system. Pieces of destroyed ships, both coalition and Vorax, floated in the emptiness. Captain Lee stood at the main viewport, watching as the remnants of a once thriving world drifted past. "Any signs of survivors?" he asked quietly. Lieutenant Jin shook his head from the tactical station. "No life signs detected, Captain." This system fell 3 months ago, according to our records. For 2 days, the Prometheus had been jumping from system to system, following the quantum trail that intelligence believed would lead to the Vorax central node. Each jump brought them deeper into enemy territory, each system more devastated than the last. "Captain," Science Officer Kang called from her station. Her voice held an unusual edge. "I'm detecting something unusual in the next system." Lee moved to her station. Kang was one of Earth's brightest minds, recruited specifically for this mission. Her understanding of quantum physics rivaled Dr. Park's. "What have you found?" Lee asked. Kang's fingers moved across her console, bringing up a complex energy reading. "The quantum signature we've been tracking is strongest here. But it's different somehow." "Different how?" "Organized. Patterned." Kang looked up, her eyes bright with scientific curiosity. "All previous Vorax energy signatures have been chaotic, almost random. This is structured, almost like." "Like what?" Lee pressed. "Like language." Kang finished. Lee straightened, considering the implications. "Lieutenant Commander Choi, prepare for one more jump. Let's see what we're dealing with." The transition was smoother this time. The crew had become accustomed to the strange sensation of quantum travel. When reality stabilized, they found themselves in an unfamiliar system orbiting a dying red giant star. "Full sensor sweep," Lee ordered. "And keep us at maximum stealth. I don't want any Vorax patrols detecting us." The bridge fell silent as the sensor data came in. The system was largely empty except for a massive structure orbiting the star at an unsafe distance. Vorax ships surrounded it in a protective formation. "That's it," Kang said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The central node." On the main screen, the structure came into focus. Unlike the organic, almost insect-like design of Vorax ships, this was a massive crystalline object, geometric and beautiful. It pulsed with bioelectrical energy that stretched out to the surrounding fleet like glowing tendrils. "Size comparison?" Lee asked. "Approximately 15 kilometers in diameter," Jin reported from Tactical. "Energy output is off the charts. I've never seen anything like it." Lee studied the structure. This was their target. According to all their intelligence, destroying this node would disrupt the entire Vorax swarm, perhaps ending the war instantly. "Weapons status?" he asked. "Quantum Lance is charged and ready," Jin replied. "At this range, we could strike before they detect us." Lee nodded. "One shot. One chance to end 17 years of war and save what remained of the coalition." His finger hovered over the command to authorize the weapon firing sequence. "Wait," Kang suddenly called out. "I'm picking up something you need to see." "What is it?" Lee asked, his finger still poised over the control. "The energy patterns from the node," Kang said, working frantically at her station. "They're not random. They're not even military commands. She looked up, her face pale. "Captain, I think they're transmitting memories." "Memories?" Lee's brow furrowed. "Yes. And emotions. Pain. Fear." Kang's voice cracked slightly. "I've been running the patterns through our xenolinguistic processors. This isn't a military command structure. It's a collective consciousness." Lee moved away from the weapon's control. "Show me." Kang transferred her data to the main screen. Complex patterns flowed across it, alongside the computer's attempted translations. "These patterns here," Kang pointed, "they repeat whenever the Vorax encounter a new species. They're consistent with information gathering. And these," she indicated another section, "appear when their ships are destroyed. They match patterns associated with pain responses in most sentient species." The Arcturian navigator spoke up, her voice thoughtful. "This conflicts with everything we know about the Vorax. They've never attempted communication, never responded to our signals, or we never understood their attempts," Kang replied. "This form of communication is completely alien to our understanding. They might have been trying to communicate all along." Lee studied the patterns carefully. 17 years of war might have been a tragic misunderstanding. but the trillions of dead couldn't be brought back by good intentions now. Can we communicate with it? He asked finally. Kang hesitated. Possibly. I think I can modify our quantum field to match their communication frequencies. But Captain, there's something else you should see. She adjusted the display to show a different set of patterns. These have been repeating for years, long before they encountered us. They show something coming from outside the galaxy, something the Vorax are running from. The bridge fell silent as the implication sank in. They're refugees, Lieutenant Commander Choi said quietly. Not conquerors. We're detecting the node, Kang announced, her voice steadier now as she worked through the science. It's not what we expected. The crystalline structure filled the view screen, beautiful and alien. The pulses of bioelectrical energy reached out to the surrounding Vorax fleet like neural pathways. It's communicating, Kang whispered, watching the patterns flow across her screen. And I think it's afraid. They say they oppose the military occupation of Earth. They've been. She paused, checking her translation again. Preserving human artifacts and studying our history. They want to establish communication. Lee activated his comlink. Commander Park, we've made a significant discovery. There appears to be a Talari resistance movement. They'd been collecting and preserving human cultural items. On the reclamation, Park received the news with cautious optimism. Can we trust this, Major? Unknown. But their message includes technical details about a secure communication channel. It seems genuine. Park considered her options. The bacterial agent had given them an unexpected advantage, but it was temporary. Talari reinforcements would eventually develop countermeasures. Set up the communication link, but maintain security protocols, she ordered. I want to hear what these enlightened ones have to say. Hours later, in a secured communication room, Park faced a view screen showing the Talari for the first time in direct conversation. The alien's exoskeleton was paler than others they had seen, with intricate markings that indicated high status in their society. I am Ven, speaker for the enlightened. The Talari introduced itself, its voice translated by the ship's computer. We have awaited your return for generations. Park's eyes narrowed. Awaited? Your people drove us from our planet. Not my people, Ven corrected. The militancy. Those who rule through conquest. We are scholars, preservationists. We have protected your world's history while they stripped its resources. Prove it, Park demanded. The screen changed to show an enormous underground chamber. Inside were thousands of human artifacts. Artwork, books, technology, all carefully preserved. A museum of humanity created by aliens. We believe your species created something we could not, Ven explained as the image returned to his face. Art that speaks to emotions we barely comprehend. History that teaches lessons we need to learn. The militancy sees only resources to exploit. We see wonder. Park found herself speechless. This was nothing like the enemy they had prepared to fight. The militancy will recover from your bacterial weapon, Ven continued. When they do, they will destroy everything rather than surrender Earth, unless we work together. What exactly are you proposing? Park asked. An alliance. Our knowledge of Talari weaknesses. Your determination to reclaim your home. Together, we can create something neither of our peoples imagined. A shared world. Lieutenant Kim's voice interrupted through the comm system. Commander, Talari orbital forces are regrouping. Their flagship is showing signs of activity. Park looked back at the alien on screen. We don't have much time to decide, do we? No, Ven agreed. But perhaps that is appropriate. The greatest decisions rarely come with the luxury of time. The final battle occurred over what had once been the Pacific Ocean. The reclamation, despite heavy damage, phased directly into the command section of the Talari flagship. Supreme Commander Hannah Park faced Supreme Director Nock, the Talari leader. We took your world because we admired it, Nock explained, gesturing to the collection of human art and literature displayed in his chamber. Your species created beauty we could never imagine. 6 months later, Hannah walked along a restored beach in what had once been Busan. Nearby, human families were building new homes alongside Telluri structures. The agreement to share Earth had been controversial, but already the joint restoration projects were showing promise. She watched as a human child and a young Telluri cautiously approached each other at the shoreline, curiosity overcoming fear. Hannah smiled, feeling the weight of 2 centuries of exile finally lifting from her shoulders. Earth belonged to all who would protect it now. The reclamation shuddered as it completed its final phase shift. The damaged ship materialized directly inside the massive Telluri flagship, its hull scraping against alien corridors. Alarms blared throughout both vessels as atmospheres mixed and systems failed. Phase shift complete, Lieutenant Kim reported, his console sparking around him. We're inside their command center, but the drive is completely burned out. Commander Park unstrapped from her chair. There's no going back now. Security team with me. She checked her sidearm. Everyone else, prepare for emergency evacuation if needed. Captain Kang approached her. Commander, this is too dangerous. Let me go instead. No, Captain. I started this mission. I'll finish it. Park looked around at her bridge crew one last time. If we don't return in 30 minutes, get our people off this ship however you can. Park led her small team through the breach point where the 2 ships had fused together. The interior of the Telluri flagship was unlike anything they had expected. Instead of the harsh military design they anticipated, the walls were adorned with patterns that seemed almost artistic. And more surprising still, many of the patterns were clearly of human origin. These are Earth designs, Security Chief 1 whispered. Ancient patterns from multiple human cultures. They encountered little resistance as they moved deeper into the ship. Most Telluri they saw were fleeing in panic, their biotech implants failing from exposure to the bacterial agent that had now spread to their flagship. Finally, they'd reached what appeared to be the command center. The doors were already open, disabled by system failures. Inside, a single Telluri stood waiting. Larger than the others, with an exoskeleton bearing elaborate markings of rank and authority. Supreme Commander Park, the alien said in halting but understandable human language. I am Supreme Director Nuck. I have been expecting you. Park kept her weapon trained on the Telluri leader. Your forces are in retreat. Your technology is failing. I'm here to negotiate the terms of your surrender. Nuck made a gesture that might have been a Telluri version of a laugh. Is that what you believe this is? A simple military victory? The alien moved to one side of the chamber, revealing what had been hidden behind him. A vast collection of human artifacts. Books, paintings, sculptures, and technological devices from throughout human history, all carefully preserved. We took your world because we admired it, Nuck explained, gesturing to the collection. Your species created beauty we could never imagine. Park lowered her weapon slightly, confusion evident on her face. You drove us from our home to collect our art. Not I, Nuck corrected. My predecessors. They discovered Earth by accident, a routine exploration mission. What they found fascinated them. A species that created not just for function, but for meaning. He moved to touch a small painting of Earth's ocean. The militancy saw resources to exploit. Others among us saw something to preserve. The enlightened ones, Park realized. Yes, they began as a small movement, preserving what the militancy would destroy. Over generations they grew. I was once among the militancy myself, until I saw. He gestured to a simple clay bowl painted with human handprints. This, made by a human child thousands of years ago. It served no purpose except to express joy in creation. Outside the flagship, the battle had reached a stalemate. The human fleet, bolstered by ships from the Enlightened One's faction, had surrounded the remaining militancy vessels. Neither side was firing. What exactly are you proposing? Park asked. What Ven suggested, a shared world. We have the knowledge to restore much of what was damaged. You have the right to return home. And those in your militancy who disagree. Nox's exoskeleton shifted in what might have been a shrug. They are already defeated. Your bacterial agent has shown them that Earth itself rejects their presence. Many will return to our homeworld. Some may stay under new leadership. 6 months later, Commander, now Governor, Hannah Park walked along a restored beach in what had once been Busan. The sand had been cleansed of Talari terraforming materials, and native earth plants were beginning to reclaim the shore. The ocean sparkled in the afternoon sun, its color slowly returning to the blue her ancestors had known, rather than the purple the Talari had engineered. Nearby, human families from the first wave of returnees were building homes on the hillside. Their modern designs integrated naturally with the crystalline structures the reformed Talari had created. The agreement to share Earth had been controversial among both species, but already the joint restoration projects were showing promise. Engineers from both species had developed methods to gradually revert the planet's atmosphere to its original composition, while creating special habitation zones for Talari who wished to remain. The drilling operations into Earth's core had been permanently halted. "Governor Park," a voice called. Hannah turned to see Dr. Choi approaching along the beach. "The latest readings are promising. The native bacterial populations are reestablishing themselves even faster than we predicted. And the Talari adaptations. Proceeding well. Those who chose to stay are voluntarily modifying their biotech to work in harmony with Earth's microbiome, rather than against it." Hannah nodded, then paused as something caught her eye. Further down the beach, a human child was cautiously approaching a young Talari. The two species rarely interacted on such a personal level yet, separated by centuries of hostility and fundamental biological differences. The human child held out a small object, a shell collected from the shore. After a moment's hesitation, the Talari youth accepted it, examining the natural formation with obvious fascination. Hannah smiled, feeling the weight of 2 centuries of exile finally lifting from her shoulders. She reached for the vial of earth soil she still wore around her neck, opened it, and carefully emptied its contents onto the beach. "We've come home," she whispered. Earth belonged to all who would protect it now.